Let's talk a little bit about being change, okay? And I know that sounds a very cliche, being the change you want to see in the world. But if we are going to create change, I feel that it is in all of the best interests of every member of humanity that we change the way that we think. It's very important that we stop aligning with old traditions that are no longer working, old I don't want to say religious beliefs, because I do believe that everyone has the right to practice religion, but I feel that we also have the right to modify and update religion as our spirit and as our life and as our culture deems appropriate. In other words, a good example, stoning women for taking their veil off, or, stoning men for falling in love with each other, or cutting off someone's hand for stealing, or, something. There comes a point where, this is just inappropriate behavior for humankind to act upon one another. So we have to allow ourselves for these type of things to evolve, and therefore we must ourselves evolve the way that we think and we perceive the world. So with that being said, let me start off with the idea and the concept that one of the most important things about what I want to share today is that we must align our thinking in order to respect every human being. We must learn to align and respect and defend anyone's rights to be a human being. We must stop the divisive rhetoric. We must stop using the word they and us, or us and them. I understand, yes, there are those who want to impose harm on humanity. Those are still human beings who got it wrong. Those are still human beings that have not evolved, or have awakened, or have been enlightened to the true meaning of life. And we must set those examples. So this divisiveness of them and us, we have to stop that. We must stop this rhetoric of division, the rhetoric of left versus right, us versus them, black versus white, woman versus female, peace versus war. This anti behavior must rhetoric has got to end eventually, and we must do it. And we will learn to do that on an individual level over time. But in the meantime, we must respect everyone's individual human rights. Humans, and let me take it beyond the activist world. Let's move it into a global scale. On a global scale, every human being has the right to exist. On a global scale, every human being has specific rights, but we must first come to that place of understanding and believing and living and thinking in a way that every single individual on this planet has human rights. We cannot disregard human rights because we don't agree with someone. We cannot disregard human rights because that person may not live in the same moral standard as you do. We cannot disregard human rights because someone has a different color skin as you do, or speaks a different language than you do, or has a different outlook of the world than you do. We cannot take away any individual's right to be human and the rights that come along with that. It's a big step. It's a very big step to really, really embrace the idea that every single human being on the planet has these equal human rights. And a lot of people might say, well, that's very libertarian of you, Bernard. Well, it's not libertarian of me. It is a fact. It is a fact. We must grant and we must respect the fact that every human being on the planet has human rights. Now, to defend these human rights, there are many, many different aspects and different avenues that we can go into when it comes to defending human rights. What I would ask all of you that are listening, if we are going to defend the idea that every individual has human rights, we must defend it in conversation, in action. We must defend it in our economic spending. Boycotts are something that I will align with on occasion because of a specific group of people might be hurting another group of people. And because they are hurting that group of people's individual human rights, I will not give the other group of people my money. It's a great way in this day and age to really protest. Don't give them your money. It's a wonderful way of exercising your activism and exercising your economic muscle. People laugh at boycotting it. It's a very, very useful process and method for creating change on the planet. But not only that, again, going back to the individual, you as the individual, if you are overlooking your ability to defend human rights, then you're not doing your job. You are not being a change maker. You are not living in the path of moving this planet and moving humanity to a higher level of reasoning and a higher level of enlightenment and clarity and peace. We're living the old paradigm all over again. We keep doing the old things over and over again, and that does not create change. So if we are going to dedicate ourselves to creating change on the planet, not only must we open our minds to respect every single individual's human rights, we must also act in accordance to defend any individual's human rights. Whether it be socially amongst your peers, amongst your family, within your political party, in your neighborhood, in the streets, in the supermarket, in your spending. It is an act of change to respect and defend anyone's individual human rights.